Welcome to today's Office for Intellectual Freedom webinar. Thanks for joining us. My name is Kristen P. Cole, and I am the Assistant Director at ALA's Office for Intellectual Freedom, or OIF. It's my pleasure to introduce today's webinar, 50 Shades of Banned Books Week. Before ALA, I was a young adult librarian at a public library in Wisconsin, and for many years we celebrated Banned Books Week by creating a display of banned books. And it was fairly dull. It could have used a strong dose of creativity and inspiration. Hopefully this webinar will be the inspiration you need as you plan your Banned Books Week celebration. Let me go on record as saying that these are not my ideas. In no way am I the expert, but I wholly believe in sharing the wealth. I find a lot of different events and ideas on Pinterest, social media, Google Alerts, news reports. I try to follow up with the creative mastermind when I can to call as many of the details behind their ideas. I have loosely organized them into these categories. And I know the webinar is titled 50 Shades of Banned Books Week, but I didn't count them and I didn't number all the ideas. I was more focused on the ideas that I wanted to share with you and less on counting and the technology of slides and how I would get everything numbered. But I guarantee you there are more than 50 ideas here. For this first idea, I need to give a shout out to a TechSoup webinar on leveraging social media to make the most of your campaign, featuring Get Outside the Lines. Erica Grossman at Anythink showcased this example of collaborating with a local business. I can't help but imagine a number of awesome ice cream treats named after banned books. I'm thinking The Perks of Being Butter Pecan, and this one, Summer Peaches and Cream, or my favorite, Peppermint Persepolis. And you can, if you're interested, view the webinar is online and available at YouTube. Obviously, Banned Books Week is not just for librarians or teachers or bookstore owners. This can be a great time to partner with other organizations, Boys and Girl Clubs, YMCA, service organizations, community centers, senior facilities, or invite community leaders to participate in your events. Ask the football coach to pose for a mugshot with a banned book, or invite the mayor to read a banned book during preschool story hour. Call the community's favorite principal and ask that he write an op-ed piece for the newspaper about the First Amendment and the importance of the right to read in education. Your local events can also be a great avenue to share the love of Banned Books Week with your community, especially people that don't use the library regularly. Farmers markets, sporting events, school open houses. Engaging your community works best when you think outside the library's four walls. The next few slides will focus on events. And I've included a link to share your event on bannedbooksweek.org, which collects events from all over the country and organizes them by state. If you're looking to host a speaker event, think outside the box. For a library conference one time, I invited a Wisconsin ACLU program officer for teens to talk about librarian rights. He was funny and dynamic and engaging. He was something new. His title and bio didn't scream library, but he was a great fit for the program, and I think people really enjoyed hearing somebody outside of the library world. So you might think about inviting people that aren't library related to talk about Banned Books Week. Historians, teachers, artists, journalists. And of course, Author visits are always a huge hit. If your library can afford to get an author in to speak, that's great. A lot of libraries can't. So you might want to consider Skyping with an author. I've been able to do this a few times and it has worked out really well. Sometimes authors will Skype with your library for free, especially to support an event like Banned Books Week. It never hurts to ask. I've had the best luck asking authors when we're reading their book for book club. We did a Skype author visit with Matali Perkins after our intergenerational book club read her book, Secret Keeper. And many of the participants went on to read her other books after, quote unquote, meeting her. Another way to engage your community is to have them actively participating in the guts of the event. A passionate reading at a banned books readout, a book club discussion, community-created art exhibits, or a banned book potluck. Similar to the ice cream ideas, you could do James and the Giant Peach Cobbler, or Catcher in the Rye Bread, Looking for Baked Alaska, or Adventures of Huckleberry Pie. Banned books can be the inspiration for programs that you already host on a regular basis. Further on in the slides, I have links to banned books that have been made into movies and other films and documentaries that discuss free speech and censorship. Film festivals are a very popular way to bring discussion of Banned Books Week to your organization. Public debates, art workshops, open discussions can all highlight the importance of freedom of expression and the First Amendment. If your library or organization has the equipment, you could set up a video studio and host open recording hours for the public to make their own virtual readout videos. If you submit them to ALA or any of the other sponsors for Banned Books Week on our website, we will add them to the Banned Books Week YouTube channel. One librarian in New Mexico shared a great idea on how her teens created banned book t-shirts by screen printing. She sent me pictures and instructions that I posted on the Intellectual Freedom blog. There's also a really great program idea similar to speed dating. Other libraries have called it many different things. They have a couple of articles here that talk about either quickly discussing the books with each other, like speed dating, or speed dating the book by looking briefly through it and trying to find the book that matches you or fits what you're looking for. This is one of my favorite ideas that I saw online. Gadsden Public Library hosted a number of Banned Books Week events, kicked off by a public, quote-unquote, arresting of their library director. They really spotlighted civic engagement and the power of their voices. It's also another great example of engaging your community leaders by including a local lawyer and a county judge. This would also be another opportunity to discuss some of the relevant court cases to intellectual freedom and book banning. You could talk about the PICO case or I'm blanking on some of the titles, but they're out there. So that'd be a good time to discuss some of those. More event ideas. There are just so many creative people out there. Unfortunately, the bingo idea doesn't have a link, but it wouldn't be hard to make one on your own. I've used online sites to create bingo games in the past, and you can do it with pictures and not just numbers or names, titles. I had the most luck doing a bingo sheet like that when I was doing Battle of the Books as a young adult librarian. So this would be another way you could incorporate banned books. Some of these ideas cross over into passive programming, but you could still make an event out of it. Last year, OIF hosted a webinar with Susan Brown from Chapel Hill Public Library, talking in depth about the trading cards idea. Every year she sends a set to ALA, and the artwork is just phenomenal. So all of their art is submitted locally, and they bring it down to, I think, 8 different cards every year. And I believe they've just opened up their submissions for the 2016 art cards. And then during Banned Books Week, they have a grand revealing of them. So that's their event out of it. The plays are another idea that I'm very excited about. Sledding Hill is a novel by author Chris Crutcher, and he is one of my favorite authors of all time. Last year, it was adapted as a screenplay by Jarrett Dapier, who also won ALA's Imroth Award. Chris Crutcher flew out to Jarrett's library to watch the play, and he had a cameo in it. And he went out with the cast of the teens afterwards, and it was a life-changing experience for many of them. Jarrett is currently self-publishing the play, and when he is done, it will be available on our free downloads page when it's ready. So keep watching for that. There is also a play done by the Across Town Repertory Theater called Banned, a wacky look at banned children's books. And they performed this last year. It's an original production, and it's a strange, silly, and unexpectedly educational look at children's books banned for the most ridiculous of reasons. They are doing another version of it this year. So even the option of creating your own play is definitely something that you can do. Not every event has to be open to the whole family. Alaska's Anchorage Public Library co-sponsored a censorship quiz night at the Taproot Public House. This was definitely not safe for work. Or you could host a banned books and beers discussion at your local brewery. There was a book club in my hometown that hosted a book club at a brewery once a month, and that was a great success. Next up is ideas for social media. There are so many things that you can do and resources to utilize. ALA has formatted this year's graphics to fit multiple social media platforms, cover photos, profile pictures. And that's that first link there for our free downloads page. You will also find on the free downloads page our infographic, poster size, web ads that you can use. It lists of banned and challenged books, and even some new bookmarks this year. We made read-alike bookmarks. Many of you are probably aware of a great tool called Canva. It's a free online graphic creator with fonts, icons, backgrounds, etc. It has templates created that allow you to drop and drag graphics, like the ones that you just downloaded from our website, and to customize them, maybe with your logo or the name of your organization. This has been really helpful in creating and customizing prompts and web ads. I know hashtags can seem irrelevant sometimes, but they're a great way to tie in your posts with others to create a cohesive campaign. Last year, hashtag Banned Books Week was used over 52,000 times. Another way to increase visibility is to tag authors in your posts. If your book club is looking for Alaska, you could tag at John Green on Twitter or at John Green Fans on Facebook. Or better yet, get your readers to do it. Going back to the TechSoup webinar, Outside the Lines created simple, engaging prompts for libraries to share that encourage their social media followers to respond or share. OIF is creating some prompts, but I don't have them online yet, but they will be available as downloads. It's something that you can also create for yourself. I love the idea of photo challenges. It doesn't have to be Instagram, and you can share them in any social media platform. It's a great way to be creative, incorporating banned books or the freedom to read at different spots or including different things. Maybe if your community has a famous statue or famous park, you can incorporate that into the photo challenge. Displays, displays, displays. This is where you will find the most ideas and some truly powerful visual creativity. I've only included a handful of examples, so please check out the Pinterest page for more. This display on the left with the Freedom Bird is one of my favorites. And the words have power display is stop you in your tracks of resting. It is actually a Black Lives Matter display, but it can definitely be inspired for Banned Books Week. All right, I have special earworm for you today. So now you have that song stuck in your head all day. Sometimes a powerful display can be no books or an undisplay. There is a librarian who won the Intellectual Freedom Award in Georgia for the School Library Media Association. And last year, for Banned Books Week, she and her assistant removed every book from the school library. And school started Monday morning, and their library is the fishbowl in the middle of the school, and none of the books were there. And it really created a powerful talk about access to books, access to resources, the freedom to read, and the power of libraries. Like, they didn't know how often they used the library as a resource, both a physical space and the materials inside of it, until they were gone. You could put tape over every word of every sign in your building with a sign that says, "Where would you be without information?" If you need ideas of what books to put on display, here are some lists of titles. A huge thank you goes out to Pat Peters of Decatur Public Library in Texas for helping me compile the lists of children's and YA books frequently challenged. So we have our top 10 lists, classics, books from 1990 to 1999, and then 2000 to 2009. Diverse content and authors. Read-alikes, if you liked John Green, Looking for Alaska, you might like many other books. So those are what the read-alikes are. Children's books, and then books to movies. Passive programming engages your patrons in the library without requiring much from the staff. There's usually no specific date or time. Often passive programs can be set up and your patrons stumble upon them. You can often count participation by entry slips or individual contributions to use for your programming statistics. Passive programs are also a great way to stretch your budget dollars. I've seen variations of this one, the Guess the Banned Books passive program contest, but I don't recommend actually shredding the book. Signing a banner or a poster or even a giant thank you card to your librarians for defending your right to read is another idea that doesn't require much staffing, but still really gets across the idea that your community supports the freedom to read in the First Amendment. I'm sure you've seen the mugshot images floating around. You can create a mugshot station or a shelfie selfie. This is where a shelf is at head height and it's designed for a person to stand in front of and take a selfie with their camera, their phone, pointing. You can have a sign pointing to the open headspace saying, "This person reads banned books." What's nice about these displays, the mugshots and the selfie shelfie, is that they can be mobile. You can take them on the road, go to different classrooms, do it at the YMCA. They are very transportable. And Brenda, yes, if you were going to discard the banned book, by all means, feel free to shred it at that time, but just not one that you think would be better to continue to read and circulate. Trivia and guessing contests are always popular. Of course, banned books make great prizes, or you can give away I Read Banned Books buttons. Personally, I'm a crossword junkie, so this idea speaks to my inner puzzle nerd. Crosswords and word searches would be easy to make. There are lots of websites out there to make your own. A few are online that you could download and share. This also makes me think of coloring sheets. It's something that we always had out as passive programming during our summer reading program. I haven't found a website yet, but it would be cool if there was a collection of coloring sheets inspired from banned books, especially if you have a regular coloring club at your library. But you could easily print coloring sheets for kids from the more popular books that have animations already and leave them out for the public, like Dr. Seuss, or Winnie the Pooh, Alice in Wonderland, Curious George. Those are all widely available coloring sheets. And my last category is writing. Maybe it's an essay contest or a poetry contest. Maybe a staff member writes something for the paper. Maybe it's a blog piece. Many times, editorials and articles are written during a book challenge, but Banned Books Week is the perfect opportunity to encourage your book lovers to share their appreciation for the First Amendment. So I've included some examples of different letters to the editor and articles and how they can help kind of formulate a template for people to use. All right. So what did I miss? Who has questions or other ideas to share that you've seen or implemented yourself? Now is the time to share what ideas you may have come up with in the past. All right. What suggestions do you have for marketing Banned Books events and programs to the community? Well, you could definitely use flyers at different areas around the community, in the grocery store, the YMCA, maybe the local gym. Um, that now that school is starting again, you could use the school announcements. If you have a program coming up or an event for your community, you could do that at the school announcements. You could put something in the paper. And then, of course, social media and asking other organizations, maybe your newspaper has social media and they would be willing to share it too. That might be a good idea for promoting the ideas, your events. Jennifer asks, with an academic library, how would you suggest trying to get faculty and staff involved by either offering extra credit or pairing with the library for an event? Jennifer, the first idea that comes to mind for that one is showing them with statistics. So if you can show them a past event, past participation, and say X amount of students participated in this, and give them a reason why they were engaged in it, um, they might see that as a reason to connect with their students. And then another thing with faculty would be giving them an incentive to do it. Maybe you can offer something for them that would help lighten their workload, or you could do an event with their students where there was a homework component or like a writing component that then you would help grade or evaluate. And then it could go towards their class, but it would lighten the load for the professor or the faculty member involved. Let's see, Teresa says, last year's winner of Banned Books Week display in Virginia involved lottery ticket style scratch-off cards which revealed a Banned Book Week title. Oh, that's an awesome idea. Did they just get to pick up the cards, or did they have to do something to win them? And Courtney writes, for display ideas, we borrowed a portable pretend jail cell and put chains around the books inside. I don't even know where you would go to find a portable pretend jail cell. I'm thinking maybe Amazon, but I could be wrong on that. I have seen a lot of great displays using like animal cages, where something that's more table sized that you could put a cage or a bird cage on top of a shelving unit or a table. But I had not seen a portable pretend jail cell. Maybe for Halloween, like they have Halloween stores. And Jessica says, this year we're getting a local high school and college art department involved by letting the students collaborate to make a piece that will celebrate intellectual freedom. I love that idea. Will the art piece be displayed someplace, Jessica? And James says, partnering with the local pet supply business by borrowing their pet cage and filling it with banned books. Thank the business publicly, definitely. Or better yet, bring the banned books to the pet store and ask to display them in their pet stores. Good cross-business collaboration. What's a good suggestion to get an entire library system collaborating together? We each have our own displays, but I would like to make it more cohesive. One idea, Jessica, would be on the location of your branches. If it's traveling, you could do like a calendar that has the days of the week. So Monday at this location is this one, and Tuesday at this location is this one, and Wednesday at this location is this one. And by providing that calendar, you're doing a lot of cross promotion, or maybe just a big theme. Like today, this is children's books, and this is young adult books, and really kind of do like a theme related, and you can do a ton just with your branding and your graphics that show that this is a cohesive, coordinated effort by the library system to really make it more impactful. And then one website. So many libraries, especially in a library system, all have their own website. Maybe there's one dedicated page, a central page where all the events are listed together, and include the different emails, and that it's really one library system with multiple locations, but all doing the same idea, the same effect. And encouraging different staff to attend other libraries' events. If your system is having an event at one location and you want to encourage your patrons to go to that location, having them see you there is another connection that this is a library system event. Right, a writing idea. Invite patrons to write about their thoughts on the freedom to read and collect these submissions for a binder of submissions that people can read every September. Place the binder in a public reading area. That's a great idea. You could even put some of them in, that reminds me of those photo books. And you could like self-publish your library's thoughts on intellectual freedom. Especially if you had event photos with it, or like I was thinking with the art students, if they have a piece of work and a mural they can display, that could also be a central element in creating like a photo book on how your library celebrated intellectual freedom or the freedom to read that year. Also a very nice display item for when you travel around to other places. So if you're at the farmer's market and maybe it's not Banned Books Week, but you're talking about some of the stuff that your library has done, having a Banned Book Week photo book would be a great example of promoting your library. Pamela, that's a great question. A list online of banned adult fiction titles that aren't classics. I have not yet created one, but I will do my best to do that. I'm thinking it's going to be a lot of Stephen King books. Rachel, that's a great question. I don't know that I've ever heard of that. I don't know that I've ever heard of Intellectual Freedom Month or that it might be October. But if it is, we just should definitely be celebrating it. I'm doing a Google search right now while Pamela is typing. I'm not seeing anything that screams October is Intellectual Freedom Month. But if you ever find a link about that, please let me know. We can add it to our calendar. I know Canada celebrates a Freedom to Read Week in March or February. Access Week. Yep, Open Access Week is October 24th to the 30th. Looks like that is targeted more towards academic libraries. But I'm all for open access. Let's see. There's a great post on Pinterest that has the lead characters from banned books mugshots. I was thinking of printing them off and displaying them around the library. Yeah, I've seen that. Is that the one with Harry Potter? And yes. If you do have artists in your community creating more beyond just these four, would be fantastic. I've only seen these four, but I think more would be really, really great. The Lorax would be a fun one. Carrie from Stephen King's book. Or even Pennywise the Clown from Stephen King. You guys have some amazing ideas, and if you do happen upon others, or if your library community comes up with more, please send me media links or flyers or pictures. I want to share the wealth, and if you have something that you're really proud of, I will definitely add your name to it. Let's see. Here are some other great resources for you. A specific note to check out the FTRF, the Freedom to Read Foundation Krug Fund. They have grants every year that are awarded to recipients in $1,000 and $1,500 increments, and they can also be a really great source of inspiration. This year we have 6 winners. There is a law library in Tucson, Arizona, who is going to be supporting events focused on the policy and legal disputes over the dismantling of the Tucson Unified School District's Mexican American Studies program. There is a jail and bail fundraiser, as well as a roast marshmallows, not books event held by the Kimball Library in Bryan Information Commons. The Water Buffalo Club is having an event called Busted Banned Books, BBB, in partnership with the Topanga Community Police Station. They're going to be educating young people about the history of banned books and censorship. So if you keep your eyes open, in March is usually when the Freedom to Read Foundation will start accepting applications for these grants. You can keep, so either by becoming a Freedom to Read Foundation member and being on their listserv, or if you subscribe to the Intellectual Freedom News, you'll most likely see an announcements for next year's grants. Plus, there are a lot of great opportunities to be reminded about Banned Books Week and reminders as we head into September. And don't hesitate to contact ALA if we can help. We can be a great resource too if you have any questions. Like I said, I'd love to hear about more ideas and creative displays. Teresa, let me go back to what you said here. In doing public readouts, how do you handle the possible concern about use of inappropriate words in the text? Being considerate of those who might be upset by the use of specific words which might appear in challenged books. I find a lot of times that this concern is common, but I have yet to have a person tell me that they have offended somebody by their word choice. Most readers err on the side of caution when publicly reading a book. Otherwise, if you want to do something preventative, you may include a disclaimer on your flyers if you're going to have a readout that there may be, adult materials. You could use a guide for people that are choosing what to read by saying this is a public event where anybody can hear you, so please choose accordingly. That sometimes helps. But yeah, definitely. So if you know that the event is going to be mostly adults, that's one thing. But then if it's a family event, you can just let people know and say the books you choose are going to be listened to by little ears. Yes. Or subject matter could be, what triggers a baby boom in your community, depending upon what's being read. Are there any other last ideas or questions anybody would like to share? Otherwise, we may wrap up early. It's been a great discussion, and you guys have a lot of wonderful ideas. I will be emailing everyone with a link to the recording and copy of the slides. Plus, they'll be available for free online. You're welcome to share them. There is a link to the survey, to a short survey, if you'd be willing to tell us what you thought of today's webinar. We'd appreciate it. And you can visit ALA's online learning webpage for future webinars. If you follow us on social media, you'll get updates on what's coming up. Can you think of any free, cheap prizes to give out for contests? Everybody's idea of cheap prizes are different. I think definitely buttons are a good cheap prize. Banned books. You can probably get some at bookmarks. Those are fairly inexpensive. Free cheap prizes that have to go with freedom to read. Maybe like a book light. That's a little bit more on the expensive side, depending upon where you get them from. But you could do, you know, light up your mind, read a banned book. There you go. Definitely another way to incorporate local businesses. A free ice cream cone at your local ice cream store. Thank you. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Chris, those were amazing. Those are done by the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. And they made those pencils freedom of expression, I think, for Comic-Con, and they're just awesome. Maybe a get out of jail free pass. Oh, wait, Jessica just said that. Find free passes, exactly. That's a good one too, Heather. Yeah, but pencils are awesome. Like, express yourself. Here's a pencil. I want to see if I can get some of those freedom of expression starts here pencils myself. See, you guys always come up with such great ideas. So thank you to everyone for attending. I really appreciate it, and I hope everyone has a great Banned Books week.